Hey there, fellow book readers, and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, welcome to the show. Later this week, I will be posting my first video in our Harry Potter month. So I thought today I might take a moment to gush over what really is my favorite young adult fantasy series, just to get us started into this a little bit early. So far, I haven't hit that 10 subscriber mark that we were looking for. Remember, if this channel hits 10 subscribers by October 15th, I will finally put myself through the agony of reading Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So hit that subscribe button and smash that like button. And while you're down there, go ahead and post about books that you guys think that I might like to read, or books that you just think I really need to read. And I will go ahead and get on to that. Now, before we get into this video, I am going to say the first half of this review is spoiler-free. But the second half of this review will have spoilers. This is a Gush review, and this is one of my favorite stories. So I want to be able to talk about some of the things that I just absolutely love. If you don't want spoilers, go ahead and stop halfway through. But please at least stay in for this first part so you guys might get hooked on what is really one of my favorite young adult stories. When I was younger, children's fantasy was dominated by things like Redwall and the Chronicles of Narnia. There weren't a whole lot of other options for kids to read in terms of newer, long-form fantasy. Harry Potter hadn't taken over the world yet, and most fantasy came from short books like the Animorphs. But back in the 80s, this wonderful woman started the Tortall universe. Tamora Pierce gave young readers a whole world to live in. And out of the first universe she created came the second universe that exploded to life in the 90s. I got my first Emelyn book out of the Scholastic Book Order when I was 7 years old. That was 1997. It plunged me into a world where magic could do anything and came from anything. Everyday things such as sewing and planting a garden could make magic happen. Out of this well-designed setup comes 4 kids that can fit into any friend group. Each with their own backstories and personalities, these 4 kids could take you on an adventure that would see them growing into their own magic. Over the course of 4 books, our young heroes survive waterspouts, earthquakes, pirates, and their own powers with the help of each other and their teachers and even a few other people. In this world, magic is never as it seems, and there is always more to learn, and no one knows everything. Even adults make mistakes, and they learn just as our main heroes do. Book 1 opens with the tragic backstories of each of our heroes. So we get to learn not only what their flaws are, but also why they're flawed early. We get to meet Sandry the Noble, Tritch the Merchant, Dodger the Trader, and my personal favorite, Briar the Thief. And they come together to form this unlikely team, and eventually they become kind of a pseudo-siblings. It's really cool. They survive hard times in the past, but can they really survive each other? And that's what the story's about. 4 people coming together. As a kid, this series is wish fulfillment at its highest. And as an adult, I reread these stories to my kids almost yearly. The characters are still engaging and the story never really gets old. If you're looking to rekindle the joy of Harry Potter into something new, look no further than really anything by Tamora Pierce, but I definitely recommend the Circle Opens Quartet. There's a lot more magic involved in this. When you get to the end, there's another quartet that follows this one with the same characters, just set a few years later, and then 3 standalone books after that still all involve mostly the same cast of characters. With plenty of adventures, you'll feel like you've gotten to know how everyone thinks and experienced how to deal with some of the really difficult people. All of this comes wrapped up in a tidy story that leaves just enough room for you to wonder what's going to happen next. And from this point on, we'll be in spoiler territory, so if you want to avoid spoilers on a 20-year-old quartet, stop now and smash that like button. I'll give you a few seconds. That's plenty of time, so here we go. I'm going to start with Sandry. Her family dies in a plague while she's locked in a broom closet to protect her from people that are trying to kill people infected with the plague. That's a brutal way to start a story, but it only really gets better from there. Once we've met her, we jump over to Daja on the Kushabos family's first shipping run of the season. A late storm takes out her ship and leaves her alone to survive on a floating door with nothing but a small box of food and fresh water. She's salt-baked and left in the water, but she is the first of our heroes to be found by Nico. Then we meet my favorite character, Roach the Thief, who gets caught in stealing for the third time. He's going to get sent to the docks or the mines, but then he's given a second chance and a new name. He becomes Briar Moss. He goes along with his savior just to get a few extra meals and winds up on a crazy adventure because of it. And then finally, we meet Trish, the character most kids can relate to. She's literally unwanted by her family, and who doesn't feel unwanted sometimes? But see, she has a little bit more of a reason to feel unwanted. Her family thinks she's possessed because crazy weather like dancing lightning and indoor hail follows her everywhere. So by the time she gets found by Nico, she's been passed through all of her relatives and left at a random temple. In just the first book, we get a look at this huge world before we get sucked down into Winding Circle Temple, where most of our story takes place. Here we meet a cranky gardener who keeps an old bonsai tree in a greenhouse. There's a smith that holds red-hot metal in his bare hands and it doesn't leave a mark. And the temple cook never seems to sleep. He always knows when somebody walks into his domain. Our four kids meet their teachers and discover their magic, all while being forced to live in a small cottage together. They're not so much forced to live there. The cottage's name is Discipline, but they're not there because they're being disciplined. They're there to learn discipline. They get in a few fights and even adopt a dog together. And all of this happens in what seems like a short period of time on the page. They tease each other, they learn to somewhat get along a little bit, and though the time on the pages seems short, you can feel the months they've spent together and the slowly forming bond that's there. And all of this leads to them getting trapped in a cave during an earthquake. I'm going to let you discover how they survived that one on your own. All of this in just the first of 4 books. Take the time to read the series. There's a lot of nuance that goes on there. The characters are awesome. Their relationships make sense. Plus, the world is so well built, Tamora could write in it forever. Anyways, thanks for putting up with me this long. If you could please hit that like button, that would help a lot. In a few days, I'll have your first Harry Potter video. Now, go read a book. If you guys like this video and you're looking for a novel that really does fit between young adult and adult fantasy, go and pick up Jim Butcher's Stormfront and watch my video on it. A link to that will be up in the corner.